But digressing, speaking of disgusting, the promotion for Triple G, Derevyanchenko, has been, I don't know if disgusting is probably the right word, but definitely lackluster, to put it lightly. I was asked on social media by somebody, I think it was last night, my thoughts on this fight and sort of its potential in terms of a business possibility, right? And revenue and what it could do for DAZN. And I was pretty honest about it. I was like, look, it's falling in a weird time in the schedule where it's right after a gigantic pay-per-view, a Fox pay-per-view nonetheless. That means it has that marketing machine in the U.S. market, more so than DAZN. And plus, it's Triple G Derevyanchenko, a fight where both guys aren't U.S. names, both guys can't really speak English, and let's be honest, Triple G is a fading star and a fading draw, and they have a hefty guarantee attached to both guys' purses because it's DAZN right now. And I know that Joe Mikowski went out recently and said that they were lowering the purses for DAZN, but Triple G's purses aren't going to be lowered anytime soon. He is still getting a massive guarantee, especially compared to the market standard. So, Rob, before we get into the X's and O's of this fight in particular, do you think it's been promoted well? Do you think it's been a fight that has buzz around it, or does it kind of feel like a flat week when it shouldn't be?
I mean, obviously I follow Matchroom and I've got alerts on, so I see everything Matchroom, in case
I know
it's
you
new.
do, yes.
No, just in case it's news, Matt, show.
No, you have the little notification thing turned on Twitter, definitely for Matchroom.
Yeah, for quite a lot of things, not just Matchroom.
Well, of course, because it's everything.
I've got PBC's notifications on. I wish I didn't, but, you have to take one for the team every now and then. But you get weird posts of, like, no Terence Crawford or that Wilder's the undisputed champion, shit like that. But I know what you mean. It doesn't feel like a big... Although the media workout that looked like to be... I mean, the public workout seemed, 20 deep. It seemed to be just people everywhere that you could see. So I guess on the street, actually in the area, it's, I guess, being promoted well and plenty of people showed up for it. But yeah, I don't necessarily feel like this huge, like, big fight feel, but let's be honest, Triple G, unless it's with a really good, Canelo or someone like that, it's not necessarily going to have a big fight feel. But, it's, I get where people are coming from. Plus, Loeffler sort of confirmed to people that Triple G won't be quite so in your face media-wise or, dialing back on his media presence and things like that. So
plus, he never really was that much of a media guy,
yeah.
Dialing him back to what? Like and from a 1 to 10 scale of media and how much media you do, he was never like an 8 or a 7. He was like a decent 4, But he had the HBO machine behind him, and it was the tail end of that sort of run of HBO, and especially with the exodus of Golden Boy Promotions and Mayweather, they needed stars to promote. Triple G was one of those guys that sort of fell in their lap that they promoted heavily and became a decent draw in the U.S. market. But this fight definitely seems like an indicator of some degree that star is diminishing. But however, let's get to the fight itself. Triple G Derevyanchenko, it should be a relatively easy fight for Triple G, in my opinion. I'll be honest. I know that Triple G is also getting older. He's, 37, 38 years old?
37.
37. And he's not getting any younger, has been in a ton of wars, has been hit a lot.
Tell me about it.
Add in, obviously, the long amateur career. I mean, that's years on the body that we don't see because we weren't around, you know what I mean? But that's years on the body that is there. And I know that that factor, that age factor, the wear and tear factor, is going to play into his fights down the line. Like against Andrade, against Charlo, against Canelo in the trilogy. Certain guys, it will obviously play a factor. Which Derevyanchenko, not so much. Derevyanchenko, to me, is not really a really talented boxer in terms of what he wants to achieve. I think it's pretty basic and fundamental. Throws decent short hooks, decent jab, decent movement, but overall kind of mediocre and average in everything he wants to do and everything he does do. And Triple G, while has been called a basic methodical boxer tons of times, clearly is an expert at throwing the jab, an expert at covering distance. He's clearly an expert at certain small, minute things in the game that led him to a silver medal in the Olympics, for example.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty that would back up your jab theory as far as that won him the second fight.
Absolutely. I mean, there's
quite an argument.
I'm not that person, but I know there's tons of people out there that, like you say, Rob, that say Triple G won that second fight off of the jab. He out-jabbed Canelo and won the fight off of that.
Jabbing going backwards even, when Canelo was coming at him.
Add in, decent uppercuts at times that are sneaky. Also, decent head movement as well.
Don't forget that overhand looping. Remember that he did Steve Rolls with? That was
absolutely. I think Derevyanchenko's going to come hard at Triple G, and it'll be fun for times because Triple G is a guy that he does play into a fun fight. Like, he's a guy that doesn't have the style to negate other person's styles. You know what I mean? He's not a Andre Ward, Shakur Stevenson, a Billy Joe Saunders. He's not a guy that wants to negate the offense.
He's not going to really roll shots or.
If he does, he's firing back with his movement. If he is, he's firing back with his own combination instantly. Yeah, so he's therefore automatically more in danger and more susceptible to being hit than other fighters. But he's still going to largely, I think, win every round and every exchange of this fight. I think he's going to clearly finish and knock out Derevyanchenko within 6 rounds because just the style matchup. Like, Derevyanchenko's not going to be hard to hit in any way. He's going to be there for Triple G's combinations, there for his jab, and plus him being the shorter opponent in terms of height and reach, Triple G's going to have a field day in this one. I don't see what Derevyanchenko does better than Triple G. There's not one thing he does better at all. And I'm still the mindset that Daniel Jacobs largely dominated the fight with Derevyanchenko. I know some people out there say it was a close fight. It was super close. I'm not of that mindset. I thought Daniel Jacobs clearly dominated 8 to 9 rounds of that fight, if not maybe 10 rounds of that fight, for God's sake. Derevyanchenko, to me, really got exposed in that matchup with Daniel Jacobs in terms of high-level ability in the middleweight division. Triple G is still a high-level guy, and I think that's obvious, and he's going to make it obvious on Saturday night. Rob, your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't know about inside 6 rounds, but I think it could go a little longer. I've seen a lot of people saying like decision win for Golovkin, but I think at some point Derevyanchenko will walk onto one because he is going to come forward. And regarding maybe Triple G's defensive duty, I think when you've got the Terminator jaw, and I don't know. He's taken some hellacious shots from guys, and he's just swallowed them up and just kept coming forward. He's a bit of a machine in that regard. But I think the jab will be important, and obviously the telling moment will be, can Derevyanchenko eat shots? And I don't know that he can. I think he could be durable, but I don't think over 12 I don't think he's going to last over the distance. But for me, it's a Triple G win by KO, TKO. It will finish inside the 12. But I think it could be a fun fight because the styles maybe suggest that they're going to maybe stand in the middle of the ring. And maybe it could be quite entertaining. But yeah, like you say, the buzz for the fight maybe isn't quite there. But I'm looking forward to it. Sky this up. We didn't get Triple G rolls.
Good thing.
On Sky because it was kind of a Triple G promotions thing, not Matchroom or anything. But now he's linked with Eddie. We're getting the Triple G fight, but at least we're getting this one and not the Rolls fight because obviously that definitely didn't get the buzz. But this one's obviously for Canelo's stripped IBF title, and I know DAZN and people like that are saying that we want Triple G to go out and look spectacular, to get a spectacular knockout, and it's that get the public on to try and force Canelo, but Canelo's going to do what Canelo wants to do, and even if Oscar's out there saying it, what did Canelo say? Oscar quite often out there talking nonsense,
a lot of shit. Yep,
a lot of shit. So
not exact quote, but that's what he meant.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I know Joe Markowski is confident it happens next year at some point, or in the next 12 months. But
that'd be next year.
Yeah.
because
So
it's not gonna be this
we'll
year.
see. We'll see. But yeah, I think a Triple G by stoppage.
Along the lines that we sort of did for the Spence Crawford fight, right? Where we played. Look, the reality is that Spence is freezing out Crawford. How do you get the Spence fight even if you're being frozen out, right? We walked through it the last show, right, Rob? Similar way, let's sort of walk through Triple G and Canelo. Obviously, Canelo is freezing out Triple G in the trilogy fight. Whether you like that or not, whether you think that's a big issue, I think it's beside the point. It's clear that that is the reality of that trilogy fight. One guy does not want it, and that is Canelo. He is adamant. He doesn't want it. He has said it. It's not like we have to like
Yeah.
infer on things that he said. No, he said outright, I don't want the fight. I don't like
Yeah.
the
I mean,
guy. Fuck him.
at times it was go out and do something, go and get a belt. Well, I'm going to fight for your belt that you know. But then
Now,
he said, I'll never, I don't need to fight him. We're done. I beat him twice, or I've beaten him. We've done it twice now. I've got nothing to prove. So which is it?
I like how you're about to say that he beat him twice because you know deep down he did. But digressing from that point, because I will argue it till the day I die that Canelo won both fights. Digressing,
Drunk.
when I was drunk on the first fight, I thought Triple G won. When I was sober, I thought Canelo won.
Yeah, well, try drinking through the show.
Try drinking more often. Maybe
But
maybe I should. Good
go
point
down that
there.
rabbit hole.
Triple G fighting Derevyanchenko, grabbing this IBF belt. Is it enough to entice Canelo into a trilogy fight early next year? Rob, yes or no?
Say again. I just saw.
So Triple G winning this IBF belt against Derevyanchenko, is it
Yes.
enough to entice Canelo into a trilogy fight first half of next year? Yes or no?
First half and no, not first half of next year.
So obviously then Triple G
Anything, it'll be maybe the September.
obviously Triple G then needs a second fight after this, right? So play matchmaker here with me. What would be the best fight?
Callum Smith in May.
For Triple G?
Yeah. At Liverpool Anfield. That's what they're talking about. I know when Eddie lists out all the opponents that it could be.
Time.
You see,
Because just for the sake of time, walk me through how that fight, that matchup gets him Canelo. Walk me through the logic you have, because that's the argument here. How do you get Triple G to Canelo?
because he'd be the middleweight IBF middleweight champion. He's took Canelo's belt.
Mhm.
He then goes and beats, if he wins, if he beats Callum Smith, he's then taken the big proper WBA belt, whereas Canelo went for the
Regular.
not so real WBA belt.
The
Sorry,
one that doesn't matter.
so there's something there for Triple G to, and then there's two weights to look at, because is Canelo going to come back down to 160, or is it 168 is easier after being at 175 for Kovalev? I don't know. I think if the trilogy happens, I can see it being at 168.
Why is it the two weight class factor the reason why you think that's a better fight than, let's say, and on top of that, the whole WBA, hey, I got the real belt, you don't factor? The reason why you think Callum Smith is a better fight than, let's say, Demetrius Andrade, which is another belt in the middleweight division?
Uh,
Because both fights, I would say, are hard in their very unique ways. I don't think they're easy fights.
I don't. Maybe Andrade is another way, because then you're you're unified. Canelo's got the other ones, and maybe it becomes undisputed, or is it? I don't even know if you can be undisputed anymore.
Well, no, you can't, because remember Jamal Charlo has the
is
WBC belt, man. Okay, Canelo's just the franchise champ.
Oh, fucking. By the way, if you want to join that bunch of crooks, go to their website and you can become you can get a membership with the WBC.
You know how often I forget that exists? Like
What,
that whole franchise thing happened. You know how often I forget about that?
Yeah, I know. And then something props up and reminds you of that fucking farcical fucking nonsense.
But digressing.
It's not even like Golovkin go the mandatory route. The franchise, you know what I mean? There's no mandatories. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe
I like the Callum Smith fight. I'll be honest. I like that option. I like the argument of, hey, I got the real belt at 168. You don't. That's a sellable thing if you're out there in the media talking that shit. If you have Eddie on your side talking that shit, I bet it helps too a little bit. Um, Add in it's another belt, another weight class. It maybe that's more enticing for Canelo because Canelo does seem like this headhunter right now for some sort of legacy in a way in his mind. Going up weight classes and fighting these weird fights is doing that. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think Andrade is a decent option as well, decent path. But I do think those are the two paths. I don't think Triple G can go fight another Steve Rolls after Derevyanchenko and
No.
hope to fight Canelo in September. That doesn't get him the fight. He needs to honestly take a risk, fight a tough fight that he could lose in, honestly, and lose the big money fight with Canelo. But he needs to go grab another belt, whether it's in middleweight, whether it's at 168, doesn't matter. But I do think you're right. Smith, and more in my opinion, Andrade are the two best options for Triple G to get that fight.
You can't sell big drama show by taking another tune-up. You can't
No.
keep selling this big drama show shit.
And honestly, like maybe we need to talk about it once we know the purses for this fight because I don't know the purses yet for this fight. But like, how can you afford it? Honestly, because
yeah, I mean, look at ESPN possibly hemorrhaging money, giving Tyson Fury fucking Schwartz and Wallin.
Yeah.
Waiting for the big fight. You know, you can't just keep going, here you go, my megastar. And fight who you want. Fight who you want. We'll eventually get a big one and cash in on it.
And that's analogous, obviously, to Triple G and Steve Rolls. And not to the same way, because obviously Triple G, Derevyanchenko is a good fight. Like, we know that. Like, it's Triple G's a top 5 guy, Derevyanchenko's a top 10, top 15 guy. But it doesn't matter, honestly. Like, unfortunately, because you're paying Triple G $10 to $20 million probably for this fight, guaranteed.
Yeah, it'll be like 15, I'm sure ish.
And there's no way you're making that back in gate subscribers. There's no way you're making that back international distribution fees and rights. There's no way you're making back that money. That's $15 million in the hole instantly. Let alone your production costs for your entire crew. Let alone what Derevyanchenko's gonna get paid because he's probably getting paid 7 figures at least. I would assume.
Yeah, he'll be getting 4 or 5. I'd imagine. I think.
You know, I made this post on Twitter before the show, and I'm going to repeat it here because maybe it's just the best time to repeat it. I'll say maybe a little bit again in the whole Fox topic, right? But it's maybe not as applicable there in a way because they're in a way making money, and we haven't seen the exceeding exponential cost in terms of fighter pay. But at some point, this economic bubble is either going to do two things. Either it sustains itself somehow, and these networks who have doubled or tripled or quadrupled the budget of boxing over the last year alone, somehow that makes money and it works. Boxing's back as a top 4, top 5 sport in the U.S. We're back in the mainstream in that way. As best as we probably can, right? And all these networks like ESPN, Fox, DAZN, everyone's investing into the sport, right? Long term. Or they don't make money. These networks pull back on these budgets because they're not making money. There's a gigantic recession with this economic bubble that bursts. And we see sort of what happened in the early aughts for boxing. Or maybe more so accurately, maybe the middle aughts, the 2000s, where there was this decline in amount of shows, amount of coverage, amount of events that were televised because there wasn't the money invested into the sport. And I'll be honest, if we see that happen now with this current climate and this current industry and paradigm, it would be felt far worse, in my opinion, than the transition from the late 90s to the middle 2000s. And Gary, I hope you can call in because you were around back then. I really wasn't. So I want to get probably like somebody that was around to give their take on that comparison.
On Skype, by the way, I think.
Yes, yeah. Skype, yes. Thanks for reminding me. Phone line's not working. Skype Mixed Combat Radio. Sorry about that. But digressing, Rob, I don't know if you want to take a stab at what I just went on about that, or do you want to go to the undercard of this?
Yeah, no, very quick. I know we're going to get to it in a little while with Steve Farhood was on talk box, but this whole like the economics. I mean, Woodsy straight out said like, "Is Showtime in boxing? Are you going to be going the way of HBO?" And Steve Harvard, whether he's doing the company line, but he said, "No, look, we're in boxing. You're going to be seeing the likes of," and he said that Gervonta Davis is the Charlo brothers and things like that. And he said, and he brought up like with DAZN coming in with this, big, like I think he said war chest, like that you've brought up before.
They're listening to the show, obviously. If they're using my term, they're listening.
It's not like it's a word in any other dictionary. They're listening, but he kind of said, it's caused a bit of a wave, and this whole sort of spike in number. He said it will settle down again, and people will find their place in the pecking order or whatever. And he said, look, we'll just we'll see how it all hangs out, because he was just kind of asked about pay-per-views, and he said it's a shame because we're the only sport that we get our big events and we then put it behind a $75 when it could be maybe seen by a lot more people. But he said it's been the way it is for a long time. But he kind of said the spike in these numbers, it'll eventually, the big waves will settle down to ripples, and it'll all find its way one way or another.
But he's saying it in a positive light because he has to, right?
Well, yeah.
Because let's be honest, the hope that Showtime has is that there's an economic recession in the industry, right? And DAZN, Fox, and ESPN pull their budgets to some degree, and then Showtime can jump in again. That's what he's saying. Yeah, and that's not a good thing. Like, I know he is saying it in a positive, like, hey, hunky-dory, like, we're all happy here, guys. But no, that would be a gigantic crash in the industry, in the market, if that were to happen. Yeah. That's not a good thing. And I don't even know if Showtime would be immune to that. Like, they've also tripled their budget in the last year. Like, they're not outside that equation. They're part of that symptom, that cause, so to speak, this economic bubble. They're just along with DAZN and ESPN and Fox in terms of creating this economic bubble that is now a problem. And if you don't think it is, this weekend is a perfect example. Triple G Derevyanchenko, again, is the perfect example of why this market bubble is an issue. If you don't see it, rewind the tape. Listen to me again. Maybe you didn't hear it right. It's okay. Moving on, though, some undercard fights just to make note of. Ivan Branchik on the card, Israel Madrimov on the card, Ilya Akhmedov on the card, Nikita Bobby is on the card. I know you're a big fan of him. And some other undefeated prospects that I'm not too familiar with, I'll be honest.
Madrimov.
But I know Madrimov, and I definitely know Ali Akhmedov, and those are going to be two guys I pay attention to. And, of course, Ivan Branchik is a guy that's coming off his first career loss, actually, right, against Josh Taylor, fighting Gabriel Bracerio. I mean, obviously, most of these are relatively tune-ups, but it's what you expect when you're paying $15 million for one guy in the main event. The rest of the card is not going to be filled out with top-level talent and top-level fights. Rob, any prospects in particular you're curious to see on the card?
Yeah, definitely Nikita Ababi. He's legit. He's really getting a following. He's getting his YouTube channel going. He was throwing out merchandise after his public workout. He was absolutely smashing the pads to pieces, right? Really putting every ounce of everything into it. I think if things are done right with him and moved at the right pace, not pushed too quick or not held back or whatever, I think he could really do something, because he seems to have it. He seems to be like the package at the moment. I think he could be really. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying definite world champion in the making, but he's going to be exciting to watch on however far he goes.
Gary 2.0.
And
sorry.
No, I don't think he's from Texas, but Madrimov, definitely want to see Madrimov again. Shame his it was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be Matt DeLuca or something, because this is like Madrimov's like fourth fight.
It's his fourth fight.
So he's moving at pace. I think he's very high in the WBA. I think like four, something like 3 or 4. So he's definitely very exciting to watch. Yeah, like you said, Matt, maybe not, you know, it's like potentially big main event. I think Madrimov is co-main, and then yeah, it's going to be
Branchik isn't? I would assume Branchik's the co-main.
no. I think
Really?
Madrimov.
They put Madrimov as the co-main? Yo,
Yeah, I
the
mean that
disrespect.
was a bigger fight than he was getting. I can't remember who he's fighting now.
But Branchik is a fucking former champion, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Uh,
No,
I
I know what
just,
you're saying. I know what you're saying, but
I'll put it this way: if Eddie, Triple G, Tommy boy, if you're listening, guys, why would you put a 3-0 prospect as a co-main event over a former champion? Like, don't do that. Be smart.
because it's more exciting.
It Here's the thing: the card structure has little to do with excitement. It has more to do with name value and drawing power. That's all it has to do with. Let's be honest. Moving on though.
Why is there a red flag next to
I don't know.
Barrera?
Ask Ray, man.
Well, there should be. Oh, whatever. But who else is on? Very quick. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Move on.
it's not a good. I mean, it's a decent card. It's a good
It's
card.
fine. It's fine.
Fine. That's the word I was looking for. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine, guys. It's nothing that you're
Oh,
right.
Joseph Ward making his debut. That's a good one to look out for.
I've seen a lot of people hype about him. I don't know anything about him, so that's why I didn't mention his name. I've just seen coverage of him, but I don't know who he is, what he's done, what his amateur career is, why he has this hype. I don't know him, but I know that there's been coverage of him. That's all I know.
Yeah, Ludabella snapped him up, signed up to Ludabella. So yeah, go and check him out.
Moving on.